Julian woke me up one morning and said, darling, let's have lunch somewhere different today. So I said, wherever you like. And he thought for a moment, and then he said, I think the Algonquin in New York. So I told him he was a silly thing. We couldn't possibly make it in time for lunch. And he said, bet you we can. So we bet a pair of earrings for me against a pair of cufflinks for him. And he went off to the telephone while I was dressing. And after a while, he came back and he said, you win. You're quite right. It isn't possible. So I booked a table at Maxine's in Paris. We'll have lunch there today, and we'll have lunch at the Algonquin tomorrow. And that's exactly what we did. Have I ever told you that story before?
Yes, darling, actually, I have heard it before. But I always enjoy hearing you tell it. You tell it so well.
Smash. The whole thing went smash. You know what I mean? No, you can't know. You never had it happen to you. Smash. Just like that. You wake up in the morning and there's nothing left. Nothing left to live for. Nothing.
I do understand how you felt, darling.
Don't give me that. You can't begin to understand. You never knew Julian. He was my life. My whole life. Glenn, give me another bottle of this stuff. I said, get me another bottle.
Would you mind bringing my wife another bottle, Gwyneth?
Yes, sir.
And then I don't think we shall need you for anything else tonight. You can go to bed as soon as you like.
Thank you, sir.
No, because of one man. Who did he think he was? He wasn't God. He didn't have the right to ruin someone's life like that. I told him. You're not God. You don't have the right. You wouldn't listen. I went down on my knees to him. I begged and prayed. He wouldn't listen. I wrote to him thousands of letters. He simply wouldn't listen. So smash. Just like that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, darling.
You can know you weren't there. You know what I'll do to that man if ever I meet him. If I meet him anywhere in the world, you know what I'll do?
What will you do, darling?
I'll say to him, you killed my Julian. You ruined my life. Right. Now I'm gonna kill you, Mr. Rose.
The morning mail awaits your attention.
At the moment, it's engaged by the Morning World.
Not another article about you.
I am mentioned.
Only that.
The main body of the piece is about my secretary.
What? Do you mean that woman journalist who came here?
That charming sub-sister. Good morning, you very English Rose.
Oh, no, it's too much.
Oddly enough, Drusilla herself resembles nothing so much as a very English...
I'll get her for this.
A slightly smudgy Rose from the photograph. It's on the woman's page. Nobody looks at it but women. They don't count. Aren't you glad to know that you love your work? You love your life here? Your employer treats you like a very favourite daughter.
In that case, I shall start behaving like one.
Some people are hard to please. Some are impossible.
Good morning, darling.
Oh, God.
Oh. Shall I get Gwyneth to make us some coffee?
Was I bad last night?
Oh, darling, you're perfectly fine.
You know what I mean? Did I do anything silly?
No. We just sat at the table, had dinner, and talked.
With the gun. Did I do anything silly with the gun?
Darling, you haven't touched that gun for a very long time now.
I can't face coffee. I'm going back to bed.
Well, before you do you think you could let me have some money?
What for?
Well, I have the petrol for my drive to London and back, and my hotel for, say, 5 days, and my meals.
You don't have to stay in the West End.
Shucks, darling, sure.
You think I am made of money?
I think you are not poor.
How much do you want?
Enough.
Is this enough?
It'll do, thank you.
You think I'm mean, don't you?
No, not mean. Exact.
Just that I don't want anybody ever to say that you married me for my money.
Well, thank heavens no one could ever accuse me of that. Darling.
Mr. Rose's secretary speaking. Oh, I'm sorry, he's not here. No, he's away for the weekend. He won't be back till Monday. Who's that speaking, please? Oh, the garage. Well, if he booked a service for tomorrow, I'm afraid he forgot to cancel it. He's taken the car with him. Yes, and the chauffeur. I'm so sorry. I'll ask the chauffeur to ring you on Monday. Yes. Good night. Could I have 283, please? Yes, I'll hold on. Is that Bennett's garage? This is Mr. Rose's secretary speaking. Good evening. Look, did you ring me just now? Oh. No, I had a call about a service for Mr. Rose's car in the morning. I see. No, it doesn't matter. I must have been mistaken. I just thought it was you. Thank you. Good night.
Home again, joggity jog. How nice. Why did you agree to stay with those people in the first place? In the words of Logan Pearsall Smith, I was practicing disappointment. That was no practice. That was the real thing. Oh, Drusilla still in bed? Or falling down on the job?
Charity. She may have sat up late.
Nursing the files. What we need now is some coffee. Made with coffee.
It's a day too far advanced for a second breakfast.
Which would wipe out the memory of the first one.
To wipe out the memory of the entire weekend.
Right. Give me 5 minutes. Drusilla! Drusilla! John? How many eggs do you want? 3?
Would you check that Drusilla is not in her room?
Is not in her room. Not. Everything in its place, bed made and turned down for the night, but not slept in.
So?
It could have happened yesterday, or Saturday, or Friday night.
But which?
I'll work it out from the quantity of orange juice consumed.
There is a quicker way.
Ah. This morning's post, and Saturday's.
So it was Friday night?
We left at 5 on Friday. Do we assume darkness for the deed?
I think so.
It wasn't dark till 9.
Whoever it was must have come early enough to be sure that she was not in bed and asleep.
Only rang up first to check.
Yes.
Friday night between 9 and 10.
Most likely.
What do we do now?
We've been told what not to do. If you want to see her alive ever again, do not call in the police.
But you're going to call in the police, I assume.
I'm going to have 3 eggs with my bacon. We shall need all the protein we can get.
And now, on top of everything, you're late with my breakfast. Look, I insist on being taken to the person in charge. I don't think any of you can realize that kidnapping is a very serious offense. And you're liable to be sent to prison for a number of years unless you release me immediately. And in any case, there's not the slightest point in kidnapping me because I haven't got any money. And no one is going to pay you a single penny. In fact, you're wasting your time. As well as mine.
Treasure trove.
Good.
Exhibit A, one gentleman's right-handed leather glove found on the floor by the front door. Name tape inside, initials SR.
Do we know any SRs?
None spring to mind. I'm not sure about Exhibit B, but it's hidden rather conspicuously under the hall stand.
Conspicuously?
Yes. Question is, have you or Drusilla been buying bad verse from the late 1930s?
Not me.
Green eyes, where have I seen? Have I seen? Seen I? Not all the convoluted, devoluted, involute volutes of excruciate minds. Minds howling.
That book is neither mine nor Drusilla's.
Just as I was starting to enjoy myself.
It's called The Outcast State and Other Poems by Julian Lidgett, published in 1939. I forget the name of the publisher.
You're not doing badly.
In 1939, Julian Lidgett was a beautiful playboy with far too much money who fancied himself a poet.
Friend of yours?
I, then, was a newly promoted detective sergeant on the narcotics squad.
Ah, and he was a junkie.
I arrested Julian Lidgett for possessing and passing illicit drugs. He went to prison for 2 years.
And then waited a quarter of a century for his revenge.
While in prison, he managed to commit suicide.
Oh.
May I guess that that book contains another clue?
A bookplate with the name Ambrose Poster. And on the flyleaf, an inscription from the poet, "To Ambrose with gratitude, April 1939.
Ambrose Poster, man of letters, one of that dying tribe. We better find out if he's dead or not.
Why?
They've given us a lead. It'd be churlish of us not to follow it up, don't you think?
Look. Beneath this light comedy manner, are you worried about Drusilla?
Naturally.
Good, because I am.
Good.
It may or may not have come to your attention that in my odd, taciturn way, I am extremely fond of her.
Good, because I am.
Good.
You saw him, Rose?
I had a long talk with him.
Well, why hasn't he replied? Why hasn't he damn well replied?
He refused to explain. He refused to apologize. He would not even admit that he'd received your letters.
Well, you posted them, did you?
In any case, he says he will write about Julian in his memoirs, and nothing you can do can stop him.
Yes?
And the more you threaten, the more he will be determined to do this.
I won't let him.
I don't see how you can possibly stop him.
Lawyer.
I saw our lawyer, too. He says you could bring an injunction, but no one believes you'd stand a chance.
I think you're lying.
Now, why should I lie?
No reason.
No reason. No reason at all.
You know, I never know whether you're really a bastard or trying to look after me.
Well, we've been married now for 10 years. You should know by now.
I still don't.
Well, it is one of the two. Chin chin.
Oh, God. Look, the least you can do is to stop me from making a fool of myself.
In what way?
With that gun.
Oh, darling, you haven't made a fool of yourself with that gun for a long time now.
How do I know you're telling the truth?
Well, there's no way of knowing. You just have to trust me.
Get rid of the gun?
No.
Throw it in the river, chuck it in the dustbin.
You have to learn to resist the temptation.
And where has that vase gone?
Well, Gwyneth broke that by accident.
I think I did it.
You don't remember?
You know, I never remember.
No.
Ah, chin.
Chin chin. Come in.
Excuse me, madam. Lunch is ready. Shall I serve it now?
Well, I better go and clean up.
Thank you, Gwyneth. In 5 minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Gwyneth, 2 unexpected guests will be arriving tonight before dinner.
Is it Mr. Rose?
No,
When does Mr. Rose come?
tomorrow.
Who are these 2 other people, then?
Oh, they're just 2 friends of mine from London, a lady and a gentleman. They're not married, they're just friends.
Why do we want them here?
They're very important. We must have witnesses to the murder.
Thank you, Nigel. I'm really very grateful. No, I can't tell you what it's about. It'd take far too long to explain. Oh, she's in splendid form. Yes, I'll give her your love. When Nigel Chinner has done his bit, he tells me that Ambrose Poster is to be found in the Shakespeare Kennels and Dogs Home on the Stratford-on-Avon side of Leamington Spa.
Dog's home.
I imagine there's a house there, too.
So we ring him up?
No, he says Poster is too old to have heard of the invention of the telephone, so hey-ho for Leamington Spa.
Aren't you going a long way round?
You mean you don't know the road?
Stop joking.
Did you ever take part in a treasure hunt when you were a bright young thing? First of all, they give you a clue which leads you to a certain place. There you find another clue which leads you to another place.
And when do we find Drusilla?
I always do what my opponents want me to, until very nearly the last moment.
Will you kindly tell your employer that I am on hunger strike until I am released from this place? And I doubt whether he has any apparatus of forcible feeding, so there's nothing he can do about it. If he keeps me here long enough, I shall simply die from starvation. That's all.
No, I feel neither guilt nor remorse. Julian Newgate was a silly fellow who knowingly broke the law. I arrested him.
Which led to his death.
I gave evidence at the trial. I neither condemned nor sentenced him. Nor did I smuggle into the prison the pocket knife he used to cut his throat.
That's what happened?
It aroused very little attention.
Oh, why?
September 39, the World War broke out the same week.
Are you protesting too much about guilt and remorse?
Julian Newgate had a wife, a beautiful girl, Virginia. She jumped to the conclusion that I was totally responsible, and from the moment of the arrest she wrote me letters by every post, wild, hysterical 20-page letters, telling me that I was caging the one free spirit, that he'd never live in captivity, that I was killing him.
And you replied?
I always reply to letters, briefly but politely.
Any idea who did pass him the pocket knife?
I imagine Virginia did, at his request.
Madam? Madam?
What?
I'm sorry, madam. There's two people arrived. Mr. Avansky says, would you please come down and see them?
People? What people?
A lady and a gentleman. In a car from London.
Tell him to send them away.
Please, madam.
I don't want people here. Send them away.
He says they're great admirers of your first husband.
Who are they?
Oh, I don't know their names, madam.
Are they? Couldn't be. They're dead.
They're quite young, madam, but they're great admirers of your husband's poetry.
Tell him I'll be down and... as soon as I can.
Julian Lydgate. Ah, now there's a name to it. What memories that evokes. Indeed, my word, it evokes...
Mr. Poster, I wonder if you recognize...
Mind you, of the two, I was fonder of Hugh.
This book.
I remembered... What? Did you say something?
This book, I wonder...
You'll have to speak a bit louder, you know. My hearing isn't what it used to be.
I wonder if you recognize this book.
Book? Who's it by?
Julian Lydgate.
Lydgate.
Yes.
My eyes, you see, I can't... Who's it by? Is it someone new? I mean, should I have heard of him?
I know it's a bore for you, but I had to say something, and that's what I said.
You don't mean I have to read the book, do you?
Read it.
Well, if I must.
And then pretend you've loved it ever since you were so high.
It's poems.
So read the poems.
Well, what about you?
I happen to have read them already. More than once.
Look, now, what's all this about? I thought you'd invited us down here in the normal way.
Well, it's just that sometimes Virginia decides she doesn't want to have visitors.
Oh, great.
And then I have to think of some excuse.
Like a pilgrimage to the shrine.
Yeah, that is the best possible reason, so it's the one I thought of.
Purple parrots? Oh, my God, it's not even funny.
Cheer up, Nicky. The food and drink are very good.
Do you mean you actually read these? Deliberately?
Stefan lent me the book. I was interested.
Doesn't sound like you to me.
I'll recite if you like.
Elsa, dear, Stefan, sweetheart, I know it's all going to be absolutely lovely, but could you explain what we're actually doing here? I mean, just brightening your wife's dull existence. Or what?
Good afternoon.
Ah, Virginia, darling. Let me introduce Elsa Chapton
How do you do?
How do you do?
and Nicky Aspinall.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Two friends I met in London, some time ago now. They were passing near here in their car on a trip through Wales.
And we're such admirers of your first husband's work.
Oh, yes, yes, indeed.
We wondered if we might call.
A sort of pilgrimage. I've just been
They
rereading.
must stay. Oh, Stefan, they must stay. Can you stay?
Yeah, one night, 2
Oh,
nights.
at least 2 nights.
We'd love to.
Oh, good. And we'll have... I suppose it's tea time. You had tea yet? Or is it too early for a little drink?
I remember one night at the Ivy. I was dining at the Ivy.
Where's the next clue in the hunt, then?
The scent is getting fainter.
Is he being good? Sit up properly, Uncle. I brought your tea.
Yes, Willie. Tea from Darjeeling, tea from India, tea in my little china cup.
I'm going to have him put in a home.
Isn't this?
I mean an institution. Did you get any sense out of him?
Perhaps you could help us.
Is that? Oh. Oh, it's that one.
Tea!
Yes, Uncle. Now, here you are. Don't spill it. Well, you see, he can't read anymore. In fact, he hardly knows what's going on at all. And perhaps I should explain, it's been a very bad year for the kennels. We had an outbreak, you see, and of course a lot of people took their dogs away, and it's been a very difficult time all round.
So you've been selling his books?
Well, some of them. Oh, just a few. Only the inscribed ones. I advertised in the personal column of the Times, and the Telegraph, of course. I take the Telegraph myself. And this man came.
What man?
I'm surprised you got the book. I didn't know he was going to resell. I thought he wanted it for himself. It was only a week ago he was here.
Yes, well, I'm afraid we haven't made ourselves clear. You see, we found this book by accident and thought we ought to return it to Mr. Poster. But now that you tell us it belongs to someone else...
Yes, he was a collector, you see, a book collector.
Could we possibly have his name and address?
Yes, yes, of course. I wrote it down somewhere. No, he wrote it down himself.
Oh, yes. Why?
Well, he said something about... Well, I can't remember why, but I know he said I ought to have it. Yes, here it is.
May I?
Stefan Ravansky. He was Polish, I believe. Oh, naturalized, of course. He spoke very good English. And that's not his home address. That's the address he was going to.
And then he went off with that chap to the south of France. That chap...
Do you know it?
Oh, yes, indeed. It's a pub not 300 yards from my house.
Oh, that's very convenient, isn't it?
And at the pub, he will have left us another clue.
Which will lead us to Drusilla?
Or to yet another clue.
It could be that Ravansky is not the villain of the piece at all, but that someone is trying to make us think he is.
It could be that pigs will learn to fly.
I think it is time for me to be a solicitor's husband.
To prove it to Nicky.
Well, he is very important. He's our one honest witness.
He's guessed that after something.
And it's even more important to show myself a saint.
You weren't even born then. You can't have any idea what it was like to be young in those days. Young and gay and carefree and so much in love. Oh, terribly in love. No money. No, yeah, we had money. But that didn't matter. The whole point was we didn't care. We didn't care about anything except being together and living every moment of every day as much as we possibly could. You know what I mean?
Well, of course, it's, different now.
Well, of course it's different. Everything gone smash. Everything changed.
Yes.
Darling, what time would you like to have dinner? I shall have to tell Gwyneth.
Dinner?
I thought perhaps you might like it a little earlier than usual.
Why? Are you saying I need some blotting paper inside of me?
Darcy, I'd never say a thing like that.
Right then.
It's just that I thought that our guests might be hungry after their drive.
Are you hungry, Nicky?
Well, no, not really. I mean, whenever you like.
Whenever I like. The same as usual.
All right, darling. After goodness.
What was I saying?
Um,
Oh, yeah, I remember. If you never lived in the 1930s, you can't have any idea what life can be like.
Were you saintly?
And long-suffering.
So, what happens at dinner?
I shall be even more long-suffering.
I mean, will she do her trick with a gun?
Well, I shall do my best to stop her.
You'd better.
But it works well both ways. If I can stop her, that's good. If I can't, it proves that no one could possibly stop her.
You've got it all worked out.
For tonight and tomorrow.
You rang, sir?
Oh, yes, Gwyneth. Dinner at the usual time.
Yes, sir. Is everything all right?
Yes, thank you, Gwyneth.
And what does that mean?
Oh, I told you. She's on our side.
You didn't mention one thing. Is she your mistress?
Oh, no, darling. You're my mistress. She is my occasional concubine.
You really have got it all worked out.
Yes, I have.
Mr. Ravensky, you see he was here 3 or 4 nights.
I only asked because I've come into possession of a book of his, a valuable book, and I should like to return it.
Oh, yes?
And unfortunately, I've lost his address, but of course you'll have it in your visitor's book.
Yes.
I wonder, would you be an absolute dear?
It's in the office. I'll go and get it.
Thank you, Bessie.
And that will be the next clue.
Perhaps the final clue.
To where Drusilla is.
Perhaps. Perhaps not.
I thought the purpose of our careering the length and breadth of England was to find Drusilla.
Partly.
Have I got it wrong? To find what, then?
Whatever lies at the end of the trail.
Which is?
No one knows, except Mr. Ravansky.
There we are.
Ah, thank you, Bessie.
Excuse me.
Well, what does it say?
It says, name, Stefan Ravansky. Nationality, British. Address, the Shakespeare Kennels and Dogs Home, Leamington Spa. That's it, then. The yard?
But he can't have a record, or he wouldn't have risked it.
Worth trying.
Anything's worth trying. Sometime tomorrow, we should be presented with another clue.
You are guessing.
A good guess. He can't hope to hold out for more than another day.
That's true.
But he wants to decide the exact time that I find him.
Ah, yes.
And I want to find him before the time he has decided.
And you know what he did? Nicky, do you know what that man did?
what man was this?
You know what he did?
I'm awfully sorry, it's stupid of me, but I'm not following you very well.
Gwyneth, give me another bottle.
No, Gwyneth, not tonight.
Yes, sir.
What do you say?
You can go now, Gwyneth.
Thank you, sir.
I want another bottle.
Darling, I think you've had enough for one evening.
Are you telling me I'm drunk?
No, it's for your own sake, darling. I'm just saying you've had enough.
You think I'm drunk, Nicky?
Well, no, not actually, no.
I'll show you. I'll show you if I'm drunk. I'll show you all.
No, darling, I'll take it to bed.
No, not this drawer.
Hide it, darling.
You're no right. It's not your drawer. You're no right to lock it. Open it. Go on.
Well, now, only if you promise you won't do anything foolish.
Open this bloody drawer, or you don't get another penny out of me. Open it. Go on.
Anything you say, darling.
You see that bottle over there? You see it, Nicky?
Yes.
You're not drunk.
Oh, well, thank you, Dorby. Thank you for calling me back. Good night.
Nothing?
As I feared.
Might there have been something if you'd stopped acting like the Black Hand and told him what this is all about?
If I had known what it was all about, I'd have told him.
I mean Drusilla being kidnapped.
That is not what it's all about.
Look, don't go to bed yet. File on the Lidgett case.
Oh, just a few notes I made at the time, some press cuttings, nothing that will help us now.
While you spend your time gallivanting about in your London clubs, your underpaid secretary sits in there doing your homework for you.
What homework?
Drusilla's typing. Follow-up notes, list of sources checked, Somerset House, newspaper files, etc., etc.
Well.
I quote, March 2nd, 1957, Virginia Lidgett married Stefan Ruvansky. Home address, Llanpool, Ficklefockle Castle, Merionethshire.
What castle?
L-L-A-N, followed by 12 more letters, all consonants.
Have we got a large-scale map of Wales?
Good morning.
Will it be a good day?
Oh, yes.
You know, if this goes wrong, you're finished.
With Virginia. And with you?
I want you as a rich husband, darling. I'm not sure I'd want you as a penniless lover.
Well, it will not go wrong.
What time does Rose arrive?
Well, at lunchtime I shall phone his village pub and tell him I've left a book there giving him this address. They will, of course, tell Rose. It'll take him 6 hours, 5 hours to arrive. So let's say by 6:30 or 7, just in time for drinks before dinner.
And you really think that Virginia will...
Virginia will do what she always does, only this time with a human target. Bacon and eggs.
And if she doesn't?
She will. Sausage, tomato?
No, thank you.
The important thing is the timing. Virginia must be at least half slurred by the time Rose arrives. At the point where for her, there is no turning back.
She may not kill him.
She's a crack shot.
She still may not.
Well, whatever happens, I think she will at least earn for herself 10 or 12 years in jail. But she won't survive any more than darling Julian did.
Good morning, Nick.
Did you sleep well?
There's a chap at the front door called Rose. Says he's come about a book.
Superb breakfast. It's really very kind of you.
Not at all. It was kind of you to come. More coffee?
Please. Thank you.
Nicky, will you take me for a walk?
What do you mean now?
Yes, I feel like going for a walk. Will you excuse us?
Well, of course.
Well, come on, Nick. We'll see you again later, I hope.
I hope.
The countryside around here is very beautiful. It attracts a lot of tourists like yourself.
Oh, no. The attraction for me was you.
To return my book.
To find my secretary.
And forgive me, I don't understand.
Mr. Ruvansky, I believe that you organized the kidnapping of my secretary from my house last Friday night.
Oh, no.
And that you instructed your partners, hirelings, whoever they were, to leave behind your glove and your book.
Well, I told you, I dropped them in the pub and somebody else picked them up.
Without your missing them.
Well, the gloves were of no importance. I have several pairs.
Yes, but the book, you'd only just bought it at quite a high price.
And I searched high and low for it.
And you've only just reached the conclusion that you must have left it in the pub.
And I was going to telephone.
Don't tell me. You were going to telephone the pub at lunchtime.
To ask if they'd found it.
But really, to make sure that I would be here this evening.
Mr. Rose, you are talking in riddles.
I'm not the only one. Why did you give your address as the Dog's Home?
Well, that was just a childish joke, you know how it is.
I should like to think you were running out of jokes.
Mr. Rose, if you really believe that I have kidnapped your secretary, then phone the police and ask them to search the place.
Oh, she's certainly not here, or you wouldn't have led me here.
But I have never set eyes on your secretary.
That is quite possibly true, but wherever she is, now that you have me here, you will give instructions to have her released. Indeed, you may have already done so, Mr. Ruvansky. All my cards are on the table. Where are yours?
I have nothing worth showing.
Or do you mean I shan't see them until I meet your wife?
It's you. Go away.
Morning, darling. How are you feeling?
Terrible.
Now, come on. Drink this. It'll do you good.
What is it?
A new cure for a hangover.
Was I bad last night?
You don't remember?
I don't remember a thing.
Perfectly fine. Now, come on, drink.
What time is it?
Drink it up. It's not time for you to get up yet. It's not nearly time for you to get up yet.
This castle hath a pleasant seat. The air sweetly and nimbly recommends itself unto our gentle senses.
An actor once told me it's unlucky to quote from Macbeth.
How difficult that must make it when they come to produce Macbeth.
Are they doing it here tonight?
Possibly.
With yourself as the murdered Duncan. And who is Lady M?
Virginia, I imagine.
So when do the revels start?
Our host is planning them for this evening, and he doesn't want to change his plans.
And then?
Would you mind waiting at table?
In case you need a witness.
In case I need someone to defend me.
Stefan,
Oh, hello, Nicky. Where have you been?
talking to Rose,
Oh, yes?
and then packing.
Packing? Why?
I'm leaving.
But you only arrived yesterday.
But you can't leave. It's my car.
Yes, dear, that's why I've ordered a taxi.
What did Rose say to you?
Nothing at all, except he thought I was right.
Oh, yes? Right about what, Nicky?
Look, my darlings, I'll have you both very much at parties in London where it's just normal sex and violence like on the BBC. But there's something going on here I don't understand, and I don't want to understand. I don't want any part of it.
Nothing's going on, Nick.
You do know that Rose was a big boss man at Scotland Yard?
Oh, yes.
Well, he's not here for nothing.
No, he came to return a book.
And you don't believe that either. Stefan, love, you know me. Golden rule of life, I float around on the surface, up the shallow end. And when I think I see trouble...
Excuse me, Mr. Aspinall. Your taxi's here.
Thank you, just coming. And when I think I see trouble, I ring for a taxi. Bye-bye, dears. Thank you so much. See you in London, with luck.
So, we lose the independent witness.
Yes, well, in that state of mind, he's better lost.
Are you going to go through with it?
Of course.
Look, darling, Virginia might die of drink any moment.
Yes, that's what I told myself 10 years ago when I married her.
Anyway, there'll be other opportunities.
Look, darling, I've worked very hard to organize this happening. I spent a great deal of money on the kidnapping.
My money?
Yes, your money. So you're an investor in the hope of 1,000% profit. We are going to go through with it. Oh, yes, Gwyneth?
Could I have a word with you, sir?
Excuse me.
I just want to say, in case you think otherwise,
Yes, Gwyneth?
looking at that bitch there,
She's an old friend. She's on our side.
I want your promise of marriage in writing.
Why in writing, Gwyneth?
And if I don't get it, and you do what you're going to do, I shall tell the police everything. That's all, sir.
Thanks, Gwyneth.
And what was that about?
Gwyneth always likes to make a secret of the menu for dinner. But, about what we were saying.
You're going to drop it.
Yes, I'm going to drop Plan A and put Plan B into operation.
What's Plan B?
A different means of arriving at the same end.
Madam, wake up, madam. It's after 5 o'clock.
What?
It's after 5 o'clock. Time to get up.
5 o'clock? In the afternoon?
Yes, madam.
Have I been asleep all day?
Yes, madam. Well, I tried to wake you several times, but you just told me to go away.
What did I sleep like that for?
I don't know, madam. But Mr. Ravansky's downstairs with the guests, and he said, could you come down soon, please?
Yeah. I'll be down. Soon.
And he says you might like a drink before you come down, so I was to bring you this.
Drink? No.
Oh, and I was to tell you Mr. Aspinall has had to leave. But another guest has arrived, an old friend of yours.
What old friend?
A Mr. Rose. Mr. Charles Rose.
My wife has not been very well, poor thing.
I am sorry.
Well, she lives, how shall I put it, she lives in a kind of a fantasy world these days.
Indeed.
I mean, she was telling me that she's written you dozens of letters.
Yes, she told me that too.
That is, in fact, true.
But I mean recently, since we read about your forthcoming memoirs.
Ah.
When I know, in fact, she hasn't written you a single line.
How very strange.
But you will be kind to her.
I shall be as kind as I can.
Good evening.
Ah, Virginia, darling. May I introduce Mr. Rose, ex-Chief Inspector Rose of Scotland Yard.
The man I've always wanted to meet.
Here I am.
He hasn't got a drink. Why hasn't he got a drink? Give him a drink. Mr. Rose. Have a drink.
I'm not speaking to you until you come to your senses. What are you doing? Let go!
Millions of letters. Millions. I wrote you millions of letters. Why didn't you answer?
Mrs. Ruvansky, I answered every letter I received from you.
Don't give me that. I know as well as you do. I haven't had an answer from you since 1939.
Then possibly your letters went astray.
You just didn't answer. Why not?
Darling, could we talk about something else? Mr. Rose is our guest.
Well, you don't know what he did to me, do you?
Well, I have heard the story, darling, more than once.
Well, you don't. You weren't even born then. You can't know.
I've heard from Stefan.
I'll tell you what he did. He smashed my whole life. Just like that. Smash! Give me another bottle.
No, darling, not tonight.
I want another bottle. You, what are you waiting for? You're supposed to be looking after us.
Would you mind going to the cellar and bringing my wife another bottle?
Yes, sir.
Right. Good. That's that. What are you going to do now, Mr. Rose?
In what sense now?
You're going to publish it in your memoirs? How you killed my husband? Not that one. My real husband. Julian. You put him in jail and killed him. Killed him and killed me. I haven't been alive since then, you know that. Nothing left to live for. Nothing. And you did. That's what you did.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You don't know what it means. You think you're God?
No.
Now you're going to kill him all over again in your boat. No. No, Mr. Rose. I won't let you do it. All right. Right, you kill my Julian. No, I'm going to kill you. God almighty, Rose.
No, Virginia!
You get out of my way.
My apologies.
Not at all. You saved my life, to my surprise.
Wake up. Wake up, darling. Virginia, wake up. You must wake up. Darling, it's urgent. We must do something now.
What's the matter?
Look, we must do something quickly before the police get here.
The police?
Yes, look, darling, I took him to hospital and they phoned the police.
Who to hospital?
Rose.
What?
You don't remember? Oh, darling, you shot him.
No.
Yes. I mean, I tried to stop you. I grabbed your arm, but it was too late.
Shot him?
Yes, now listen. They phoned from the hospital. He is dead. And the police are on their way here now to arrest you.
Arrest?
Yes. It is no good lying to them, darling. Everybody saw you do it. There was Gwyneth and Elsa and Rosa's servant.
Well, what'll they do to me? Hang me?
No, they won't hang you. They don't hang people anymore. You may have to be in prison for 10 years, 12 years, something like that.
No.
Look, darling, perhaps you could plead insanity. You could go to a criminal lunatic asylum, perhaps.
No.
Police just rang back. They'll be here in 5 minutes.
Get out of my way.
Where are you going?
Don't follow me.
Plan B.
Virginia. I thought your husband wanted me dead. When I discovered he didn't, that left only one possible alternative. He wants you dead. So I decided to keep watch. I am real. You've done nothing. Nothing is going to happen to you. There is no reason for you to die.
Mr. Rose.
You.
Hey, no, no. No, Virginia, no, darling! Darling, no!
I have the bullets in my pocket. If you want to get rid of your husband, may I recommend divorce?
And now, perhaps, we can set about finding Drusilla.
Hardly necessary.
What do you mean?
And where have you been?
Wales. And you?
Well, I was dumped on Marlow Common in the middle of last night.
Really? I'd have thought Epping Forest.
I may say I had expected you two to rescue me.
We were otherwise occupied.
From that dreadful little room, God knows where.
Why, we picked it in a castellated country house.
Do we owe her an explanation?
And make it a good one.
You better get us a drink, John. And Drusilla, make a note that I promise not to mention the Lidget case in my memoirs.
But you weren't going to mention it anyway. You said so the other day.
I delight in making promises. It costs me nothing to keep.